The Dancer by Rosauro Almario, translated from the Tagalog 1910 edition by Gio Marron with AI assistance from ChatGPT, Claude, and Perplexity. Narration by 11 Labs. Foreword. The Dancer, Ang Mananayaw by Rosauro Almario, first published in 1910 by Aklatang Bayan in Manila, is a short Tagalog novel that serves as both a literary work and a moral allegory. Written during the early American colonial period in the Philippines, it stands as a window into a society undergoing cultural, political, and moral upheaval. This translation seeks to preserve not just the story, but the rhetorical force, social commentary, and emotional tone of the original. The novel follows Sawî, a provincial youth newly arrived in the city, and his fateful entanglement with Pati, a beautiful but cunning dancer in Manila. Their story is more than a tale of seduction and downfall. It is an exploration of urban corruption, class vulnerability, and the slow erosion of character under the pressure of illusion, lust, and modernity. Almario writes with didactic urgency. The prose is steeped in the influence of Spanish literary traditions, evident in its rhetorical flourishes and formal tone, but it also draws from native Tagalog moral storytelling. This dual heritage reflects the transitional identity of early 20th century Filipino literature, which sought to both entertain and instruct in a time of national redefinition. The Dancer is not subtle. It is polemical, almost theatrical in its structure and tone, designed to shock, warn, and moralize. But in its theatricality lies its power. The dance halls of Manila become battlegrounds of virtue and vice. Pati, though framed as a femme fatale, is in fact a product of social decay, a survivor using what tools she has in a world that offers her few options. Sawî, for his part, is not simply a victim of seduction, but of his own romantic delusions and failure to discern appearances from substance. This translation uses modern English dialogue conventions and idioms while preserving the formal diction and tonal gravity of the original. Where the Tagalog text relies on repetition or florid metaphor, the English renders those ideas with clarity but does not omit them. The goal is not modernization, but accessibility, to bring Almario's moral vision and artistic voice to readers unfamiliar with early Tagalog prose. In its time, Ang Mananayaw was part of a larger project by Aklatang Bayan to use literature as a weapon in the fight against moral decline, colonial disorientation, and cultural amnesia. Today, it stands as a potent reminder of the tensions that defined Filipino identity in the shadow of empire and the enduring battle between desire and dignity. Gio Marron. The Dancer. Jóvenes, ¿qué estáis bailando? Al infierno vais saltando. Chapter 1. Beginning. Pati, a dancer, of indeterminate stature, neither short nor tall, her body robust, full of vitality, radiantly fresh, her large bluish eyes like twin windows from which a burning soul gazed out, a soul ablaze with the flames of passion flowing with momentary pleasures that could drown, irritate, and ultimately destroy any soul foolish enough to immerse itself in them. Sawî, born in the provinces, a young man pursuing his studies in Manila. Coming from a good family of means, Sawî was raised amidst plenty and comfort. Timid, exceedingly shy with somewhat delicate mannerisms, entirely unlike those city youths whose sole aspiration was to flit about like butterflies or bees, forever seeking new flowers from which to draw fragrance. Tamad, a wastrel, a good-for-nothing as the common folk called him, orphaned of both father and mother, without wife, child, sibling, or any relation except for one. Joy, a joy that, for him, could never be found in any place or corner save for billiard halls, cockpits, gambling dens, dance houses, and those ever-hungry jaws of hell that always stood ready to receive him. Tamad, how's the bird? Pati inquired. Good news, Pati. He's becoming quite tame now, Tamad replied. Ready to enter the cage, then? Oh, without a doubt he'll enter it willingly. What has he said to you about me? She probed further. Tamad flashed a mischievous smile. The same as when I first introduced you at that party. He declares you're beautiful as Venus herself, radiant as the morning star. He's already fallen for you. You can be certain he's ensnared in your net." Pati parted her crimson lips to release a resonant laugh. "So he's in love with me already, is he? And he'll be searching for you later tonight." "Where? Where did you tell him I would be?" "At the dance hall." "Then he already knows I'm a dancer?" she asked with feigned concern. "And what was his reaction? Hasn't he read those newspaper reports claiming that women who dance at subscription parties aren't women at all, but merely a bundle of leeches in skirts?" He mentioned something of that nature," Tamad acknowledged, "but I assured him such rumors might occasionally hold truth, but not invariably. Pati, I told him, that young woman I introduced at the party is living proof that a beautiful pearl may yet be found amidst the mud." Tamad paused momentarily to swallow before continuing. "And Sawî, our bird in question, believed me entirely. He's convinced you're a rare pearl, a modest young woman of virtue and dignity." "And didn't he question why I found myself in a dance hall?" Pati asked. "He did ask. How could he not?" replied Tamad. "But the tongue of Tamad, your faithful procurer, created such elaborate dreams in that moment, painting images so lifelike they appeared as truth itself, witnessed by my own eyes." I told him, my voice nearly breaking with emotion. "Oh, Sawî, if you only knew the complete history of Pati, the beautiful Pati whom you so admire, you would surely see her in your mind's eye as nothing less than a virtuous woman, a paragon of maidenhood. For she," I continued dramatically, "is an orphan who has endured considerable misfortune in life, reduced to begging, to pleading for alms, and when those she approached no longer extended their compassion, she was forced into servitude, selling her strength to a wealthy man. But what happened next in this fabrication of yours?" Pati asked with an arched eyebrow. "The wealthy man," Tamad continued with theatrical flair, "confronted with your unrivaled beauty, developed designs to violate your honor." "Violate?" Pati scoffed. "You've quite a talent for weaving falsehoods, and what heroic action did I supposedly take?" "You resisted his base desires with unwavering virtue." "And then?" "You departed from the house where you served to enter, by necessity, the profession of dancing." So, in summary, Pati concluded with sardonic precision, "In Sawî's imagination, I am a virtuous woman, an orphan mistreated by fate who became a beggar, then a supplicant, a servant, essentially a slave, and because I defended my honor, I left the wealthy man's house to enter a different profession. Is that the fiction you've constructed?" "Precisely so," Tamad affirmed with satisfaction. "Oh, if only God had ordained that lies, before leaving the lips of liars, should first transform into flames." Pati, to those of us who truly knew her, was nothing but a bait fish, outwardly displaying only the glittering shimmer of scales while harboring nothing but fetid mud within. She was not merely flirtatious or fickle. She was something far more dangerous, a predator, an executioner of souls unfortunate enough to fall into her embrace. Even as a young girl, barely blossoming into womanhood, Pati had already inspired fear among the young men in her neighborhood. How could they not be wary when she would consent to anyone's advances, make promises to everyone, swear oaths to all comers? Each promise and oath was sealed with some token or pledge extracted from her victims, deposits that could never be reclaimed once given. But now Tamad was speaking again. Let us listen to his words. "Pati," he said with a smirk, "later tonight I shall certainly bring your bird to you." "When you arrive," she replied coolly, "the cage will be ready and waiting." And with that exchange, they parted ways. Chapter 2: The Cage Opens. They had already arrived at the first step of the stairway that led into Pluto's realm, the dance hall. Tamad led the way, the tempter, while Sawî followed timidly behind him. The temple of the cheerful goddess Terpsichore, at that moment, transformed into a veritable garden of delights. Everywhere the eye turned, it beheld nothing but modern-day Eves and latter-day Adams. Throughout this Eden, flowers seemed to have scattered themselves of their own accord, while human butterflies flitted to and fro, dancing around one another in perpetual motion. Upon the arrival of Sawî and Tamad at the dance hall, Pati, who had been waiting for them, cheerfully came forward and, with a smile and a laugh, greeted them. "You've wandered in here." Sawî did not respond. Pati's words, those utterances that seemed as if dipped in sweetness, reached one by one into the heart of the stunned young man. How beautiful Pati looked at that moment. Inside her dress that shimmered with light, in Sawî's vision she resembled what Flammarion saw in his dream, a person made of light, and her hands were two wings. Tamad, seeing his companion freeze like this, winked once at Pati and secretly pointed to him. "He's truly awkward." Just then, a signal from the orchestra was heard. "Waltz!" called out the impatient dancers in unison, and the large hall echoed with the scuffing of shoes. Pati, who had moved away from the two companions, at the beginning of the dance approached Sawî again. "Would you like to dance?" she asked affectionately. "No, it's up to you. Perhaps later." And he stood up as if warmed by sitting too long. He took a handkerchief from his pocket and wiped the sweat that was beading on his forehead. "Too shy for your own good," murmured the beautiful dancer, and she turned her back on the young man, almost stomping. She seemed angered by such a refusal from her invitee. Sawî noticed this, so he whispered to himself as he sat down, "I think she's angry." And this worry grew even more when he saw Pati being taken by an elegant dancer. What a shame I didn't dance with her. Who was the man who took his beautiful dancer? Could he already be her suitor? Could he already be her lover? Such thoughts traced through the young man's mind when Tamad's question pierced his hearing. "Why didn't you dance?" And without giving the one being questioned time to answer, Tamad continued his teasing. "Do you believe that only people of no importance attend dance halls?" "It's not that, friend." "Do you believe," Tamad repeated, "that only God-forsaken people frequent dance houses? Ah, those who hold such beliefs are mistaken, and solid evidence of this error is what you see now, friend Sawî. That gentleman dancing with Pati is a lawyer known in these parts of Manila. That gentleman," and he pointed to one whirling around, also embracing a woman with a long face and narrow eyes, "that gentleman is a pharmacist. And this one passing by us now with a flower pinned to his chest, is a wealthy merchant." And so each person there was introduced by Tamad to Sawî. There were law students, medical students, merchants, politicians, and other hopes of the nation, as our great hero once said. But such introductions by Tamad seemed unnoticed by the one he was addressing, for after he stopped, there was no other response except, "Who is dancing with Pati?" Such indifference from his companion did not anger Tamad. Rather, it delighted him. He noticed that in Sawî's heart, at those moments, there was nothing filling it but the image of his candidate, and the young man neither heard nor saw anything else but the soft scraping of Pati's shoes on the hall's floor and her enchanting posture. Sawî, whose heart was always closed to the lure of sin, was now slowly opening to a new feeling, a feeling he didn't know what it was. Yet he knew, yes, that this feeling was no different from the coal that gives heat to a boiler, a fire awakening what was once asleep and giving vigor to a formerly cold heart. The flower that once feared the kiss of the sun was now blooming in the storm. While the couples swirled in the middle of the hall, while the couples endlessly whispered, nudged, winked, pinched, and sometimes exchanged more than just words, Sawî, in the seat where he sat, thought of nothing else but how he should convey to the enchanting lady the beating of his soul. "Tamad," he called again to his seatmate, "I want you to be truthful with me. What is Pati's real situation? Single or married? Free or with a suitor? Have you already forgotten the quick answer I gave when you asked these same questions the first time we were together?" "Perhaps. What did you tell me then?" "I told you Pati is single and unmarried, free and without a suitor." Therefore, Tamad quickly added, "therefore Pati is free, free as a fish in water, a butterfly in a garden, a bird in the clouds." "What if I were to offer her?" Tamad grinned, cutting him off. "Why not?" Why couldn't you offer her your love? Aren't you a man, and isn't she a woman? Aren't you a handsome young man, and isn't she a beautiful lady? Why not? Friend Tamad, it seems you're teasing me. Teasing you? I haven't even told you everything I know about that woman, because I'm truly worried that you might be overwhelmed. Overwhelmed? If I tell you that Pati seems what? Seems to be growing fond of you. Growing fond. Is it true? Is it true that Pati is growing fond of me? And why do you say this? He questioned with a mixture of eagerness. Why not, when I observe her every movement? Just then, as if to confirm it, Pati looked at Sawî. Tamad noticed this. He nudged his companion and said with a smile, "Did you see that? Just now she looked at you again." "It's true," Sawî whispered to himself. And what a tender glance it was. How sweet, how delightful. The first waltz ended. At the second signal from the orchestra announcing a fine two-step, Sawî could no longer resist. "I want to dance with her." And he left his seat, quickly approached Pati, and respectfully asked, "Would you honor me with this dance?" To this question from the young man, Pati did not even open her mouth, but she answered with her small white hand, which she immediately linked through the arm of her suitor. Eyes that could read a man's heart would have already glimpsed Pati's approaching victory. "The bird is caught, caught, caught," she whispered to herself. And when they began to dance, she allowed her small and slender waist to play so freely in the hands of her partner. Sawî, under this woman's scheme, was gradually diminishing like a candle being consumed by the wind, and the intoxicating fragrance of jasmine he was inhaling at those moments was slowly penetrating to the depths of his feelings. He was in love now, and in love with a thorough, ardent, passionate love, like a blaze in the breath of wind, like a fire in the flow of gas. Each smile of Pati, each enticing glance she fixed on him, deeply penetrated, burrowed, wounded the chest of the endangered Sawî, like the penetration, burrowing, and wounding of a savage arrow. "Miss Pati," he timidly called to his dance partner, "if I were to come here every night, would I be able to dance with you?" "Why not?" was the sweet reply of the one being asked. Our young man, the awkward Sawî, in response to this affirmative from Pati, had nothing else to say but a gentle, "Thank you," and he did not speak again until the end of the dance. Simoon, the fearsome Simoon in Rizal's filibusterismo after the doors of Terpsichore's temple closed, displayed on his trembling lips a mocking smile, and then said, "Buena está la juventud." Chapter 3. Entangled. Sawî could no longer contain his love for Pati. Every passing moment became like an arrow striking him, each moment gone leaving another wound in his breast. "Oh, Pati," he thought, "when will you come to know how deeply I love you? When will you discover that my heart has become a sacred shrine housing your precious image? When will you understand that I have nothing left to pray for, nothing left to whisper but your name, the sweetest name that has ever graced my ears?" His tongue, timid and bound by excessive reverence, compelled him to contain his feelings within sighs and yearning breaths. To confess to Pati? The thought alone made him tremble. What if she should mock me? What if she refused to take my love seriously? What if she scorned the very feelings that consume me? Ah! But if he had realized that Pati was a merciful woman who denied no one her love, if he had realized that Pati was a merciful woman who withheld her compassion from no one, if he had realized that Pati was waiting for nothing more than a nudge, a word to fully entrust to him her soul, her body, such anguish and doubt would not have crossed his mind. But Sawî was still inexperienced. That's why he didn't know that, in Manila, the word dancer corresponds to the words bandit under the law, thief inside the house. If he had known that in dance halls they don't use words to say, "I love you, I want to devour you," but that glances, winks, and nudges are enough, perhaps Pati would have long been his, or, to speak more truly and precisely, he would have belonged to Pati. However, his lamentations did not last very long, for one night when Pati was leaving the dance hall to go home, he had the fortune, thanks to the help and mercy of his friend Tamad, to accompany her. "Miss Pati," the young man called when they were alone in the midst of darkness, "would you be angry if I said something to you?" If it would make me angry, came the seemingly playful reply from the one asked. Sawî froze. What should he do now? Where should he go from here? The hole he wished to enter had been covered before he could knock. He remained silent for a long time. Confronted with this situation, Pati secretly smiled. He truly is inexperienced, she said to herself. When the young man still would not speak, it was Pati herself who took the trouble to lay a trap. Mr. Sawî, she began, if I'm not mistaken, I think I've seen you before you arrived at our dance hall. Where? Quickly asked the young man. In the province, perhaps, in the poor province where I first saw light? No, here in Manila, I just don't know where and when, but I have seen you. Great is my fortune, if that's so. It's I who am truly wretched, since I saw you but went unnoticed. Unnoticed? Miss Pati, I didn't notice you? But how could that be? How could you go unnoticed by me? Truly, it's just that someone as small as I am. So small. How can that be, that one who is served is smaller than one who serves? One who is served, you said? Sawî's heart fluttered, and he worried that he might have been too forward. But hope and courage, what had been traversed, could no longer be retraced. Adelante, as Golfin says in Galdos's Marianela, adelante, siempre adelante. Yes, he confirmed without his tongue faltering. Served, that's what I said. I am served, and by whom? By me. Pati secretly laughed. Sawî secretly trembled. I think I'm being too bold? And he waited for the young woman to answer, like a defendant awaiting a judge's verdict. Sawî's fate at that moment hung on Pati's lips. What would she say to him? Yes? Oh, heaven! No! Oh, death! Pati, after pressing her stomach that also ached from suppressed laughter, uttered these words, Mr. Sawî, are you perhaps mocking me? No, truly what I said is true. Oh, if only my heart could be opened. Their conversation continued. From afar, in a corner of the sky, a mountain-like shape the color of smoke appeared above their sight. The thick cloud, herald of impending rain. At that moment, the walkers were just arriving at a small upstairs house located on the left side of the broad avenue of Ascaraga. Come up first, Pati invited the young man. It's still early anyway. Still early, said that woman, even though it was almost 1 a.m. Manila women are indeed very different from provincial women, he whispered to himself, unable to contain his wonder at what he heard. Nevertheless, he replied with a sincere thanks to his inviter, and he made as if to turn away to go home. But, coincidence, at that moment the rain began to pour. A triumphant smile bloomed on Pati's lips. The bird will truly be caught. And again she invited the young man until he finally yielded. Since you permit it, was the soft reply that Pati barely heard. Pati ascended first. Behind her followed Sawî. Upstairs, the first thing Sawî noticed was the orderly ornaments hanging there, the paintings competing in beauty, the portraits, landscapes, and other things that could delight the eye. A young child met them in this house, Pati's servant. Bulilit, the homeowner called to her servant upon reaching the top step, give our visitor a chair. The one commanded promptly obeyed. Sawî sat down, and the child disappeared from his sight. While the young man crossed his hands in his seat, Pati entered the house's room to fix her hair that had been disarranged at the dance hall, and to powder her face, which was now streaming with sweat. And before coming out again, she repeatedly assessed her appearance and asked herself if her current look was enough to make a man's heart leap from its place. And when she seemed satisfied, only then did she sit in a chair just an arm's length away from her guest. How beautiful Pati looked then in Sawî's eyes. Oh, he said to himself, even if it were the bald-headed St. Peter or the drowsy-eyed St. John or the gentle-faced St. Pascal, before such beauty they would be compelled to marry. And he, a mere ordinary man, how could he resist temptation? Pati, Miss Pati, he called repeatedly, his entire body trembling. The one called did not answer, but she smiled secretly, for now she sensed that the intoxicating heat of her body was affecting Sawî's heart. And Pati moved closer to her companion and laughed, with glances supremely delightful. Sawî trembled more. Pati moved even closer to him, made her smile even more affectionate, made her gaze even more enticing. Sawî wanted to run, wanted to shout, wanted to escape, to avoid temptation. He was burning with heat. But at that moment, Pati's pale, candle-like fingers touched his hand, followed by the affectionate question, "What's wrong with you? You're freezing." "Yes, yes, I am cold indeed." And simultaneously he stood up from his seat, opened his arms, and wrapped them around Pati's neck and pleaded with a broken voice, "Pati, Pati, forgive me." Chapter 4. Descent. From the very first night he inhaled the warmth of Pati's embrace, Sawî swore loyalty to the goddess of the dance floor, Terpsichore. He didn't whisper it aloud, but his soul had already defected. He had become a regular, a fixture. The books that once kept him company at night were now his enemies, collecting dust, forgotten. He no longer spared them even a glance, not a moment of listening or reflection. All his time belonged to fleeting pleasures. All his spirit, like a malnourished body, began to starve. His soul dimmed, collapsed, corroded by the fog that now veiled the sky of his conscience. He drank now, not from truth or wisdom, but from the lips of Pati, thin, red lips, lips that burned. To him, Pati was everything, his hope, his joy, his love, his heaven. Oh, what a venomous seed love becomes when it grows in the heart of a woman like her. One day, as they sat together, he turned to her, earnest, trembling. "Pati, my Pati, do you truly love me?" She paused, almost stifled a laugh, then caught herself. "Answer me," he pleaded. "Please." "Yes," she said sweetly. "Yes, my Sawî, I love you." "Like I love you?" "More," she said, putting her hand on his. 1,000 times more. I love you like a blind man loves the sun, like a fish loves water, like a saint loves God. Are you satisfied now?" "Pati, Pati, is that really true?" "As true as night is dark, as the sun is hot, as the moon is cold, as true as my heart beats and your liver trembles, as true as you are handsome and I am not." "Pati, Pati," he whispered, pressing his hand against his chest as if to keep it from bursting. He wrapped his arms around her waist and kissed her on the forehead, long, soft, trembling. "Do you hear that?" he asked, voice low. "That fast beating? That's my soul speaking. It says you're my life, my happiness, my heaven." "Of course," she replied. "And it says," he continued breathlessly, "that it has built a shrine deep inside me, a secret sanctuary filled with white jasmine flowers, burning with incense, and there it worships an image, a woman, a saint, my beautiful Pati." The leech, after a week of sipping from his blood, could no longer hold back. "It's time you paid," she thought. "Sawî, my darling," she said aloud, "could you give me 5 pesos? I need to buy a new blouse." He opened his hand without hesitation. "Here, my treasure, take it." The first day passed, then the second. "Sawî, love," she said again, "could you give me 10 pesos? I need a skirt." 10 now, not 5. Still, he didn't refuse. "Here, sweetheart, take it." And on the third day she pressed harder, more cunning, more demanding. "Love, I need 20 pesos this time, for shoes, powder, perfume, stockings." 20. Sawî, still glowing, reached into his purse. "Take it, my love. Anything for you." But the bites weren't confined merely to his flesh. Pati's teeth, sharp and cunningly hidden, were penetrating to the bone. Once, as he tenderly cradled her soft cheeks in his hands and covered them with kiss after kiss, she asked with a half-mocking tone, "How many kisses have you given me?" He laughed softly, intoxicated by her presence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 15. Oh, too many to count. I've lost track entirely. Each kiss costs 1 peso. 1 peso? He exclaimed, startled. What purse, however well filled, could possibly endure such a drain? Just as a barrel, no matter how abundantly full, must eventually run dry if its leak remains unsealed, so it was with Sawî. His wealth, Once substantial, trickled away slowly at first, then rushed out all at once. Gradually but inexorably, he descended into the abyss of poverty, down into that dark kingdom ruled by want and shadowed by shame. Now what? Should he borrow? Pawn something? Beg? Each one scraped against his pride. But how could he leave Pati? How could he live without her? He could starve. He could go barefoot. But abandon her? Never. She was his hope, his glory, his life. She was the sun that gave his soul its warmth, the fire that kept his heart alive. Oh, she was a vine, and his heart, a patch of earth, and the vine had rooted so deep he could not pull it out without tearing up the soil. A few days passed, days of silence, days of poverty. He didn't visit her. Where would he even find the money to meet her demands? I'll pawn something, he decided. He did, and it ran out. He borrowed. That ran out too. He begged. Same result. What now? He asked himself. Write to his parents? They were gone, either dead or done with him. Family? None left. He had become a burden to them all. Who wouldn't turn their back on a son like him? A disgrace. He squandered the savings earned by honest toil, dragged his family's name through the streets. He'd turned their love into ridicule, their sacrifice into waste. And worse, he became unrecognizable. To his old classmates, his old friends, he was now a stranger, a ghost. Once they called him friend. Now they avoided him like a plague. The deepest sting came when he passed familiar faces in the street, once kind, now curled into smirks and sneers. Sometimes they'd point, sometimes they'd whisper, "There goes the bum." Each word was a dart in his chest, a fresh wound. "Maybe I should forget her," he whispered one night, lying alone. But just then, a knock. "Who is it?" he called. He opened the door and froze. Tamad, the man who had ruined him. His fists clenched, his brow darkened, his eyes blazed. "Tamad!" he roared. "Get out of my house!" Tamad blinked. "What the hell?" "Get out!" Sawî shouted again. "Now!" The layabout looked confused. "I didn't come here for me." "Then for who?" "She sent me," Tamad said quietly, his voice lowering. "She sent me, okay?" Sawî's anger softened, slightly. Pati. That name, still sweet, still poisonous. Tamad saw the shift in his face. "She told me to tell you that you've been acting proud." "Proud?" "She's cried over you, you know, for days. Do you realize that?" "She cried. For me?" "She did. And I think she's still waiting." Sawî swallowed. "What else did she say?" "She gave me this," Tamad said, pulling a folded letter from his pocket. "Here." And with that, he left. Sawî ripped the letter open. Inside, the handwriting curled like smoke. "My bird. It's almost been a week now that you've orphaned me in the midst of sighs and tears. 1 week without seeing you, for me, is like 1 week of God's death. Have you forgotten the unfortunate Pati? Have you forgotten the wretched dancer after stealing her honor? Have you forgotten the magnificent moments experienced in her company? Have you forgotten the touch of your lips imprinted on my cheeks? Touches that, until now, I feel as if they're still burning with the fire of love. Have you forgotten the moments savored in my embrace, in the flame of my glances, in the sweetness of my smiles, in the sound of my kisses? Have you forgotten? Have you forgotten that night when you lay in my arms while, once, twice, and thrice Cupid sang his victories? Have you forgotten the moment when you sipped from my lips the incomparably sweet honey of love? Have you forgotten those moments extracting from my lips the wine that intoxicates Cupid? Have you forgotten? Have you forgotten the moments when, in the surge of your burning passion, you said to me, "Pati, you are my heart, you are my life, you are my goddess"? Where is the fulfillment of these promises? Ah, Sawî, ah, my bird, come, and at all hours you will find open the cage that became the nest of our golden dreams, of our joys and comforts. Your dove. These words, like pins pressed into his chest, each one waking the beast in his heart, the beast he thought was dying. The memories returned, one by one, like ghosts summoned by a spell. The beast reared up again, growled, shook, and roared. He stood. "Pati," he whispered. "I'm coming back." Chapter 5. Ending. Midnight. The sky was black and heavy, smothered by thick clouds. The wind howled like a beast, its furious gusts lashing at every rooftop, rattling every shutter like a hand demanding entry. Lightning cut across the sky in violent arcs, golden snakes chasing one another through the clouds. Thunder cracked the silence with the fury of a broken god. On the wide plaza of Azcárraga, beneath that furious storm, a figure walked alone. Who was he? What soul dares cross the world on a night like this? His steps were fast, his head low, his path unbending. He reached a house on the left side of the avenue, a house faintly lit, its windows pulsing with dim, flickering yellow. He approached the door. Before he could knock, it creaked open. A shadow peered out, slender, veiled, feminine. Pati. "Do you think he'll still come?" asked another voice, the same one who had opened the door. "I don't think so," Pati answered. "Not with this rain. Come in." And the voice obeyed. Outside, Sawî froze. He? He who? He bit his lip hard enough to taste blood. Are they mocking me? He moved closer. His heart pounded. Who had she let in? The figure had moved like a man, stood like a man, spoken like a man. She betrayed me. Pati. She betrayed me. He took another step forward. Outside the door now. He pushed gently. It swung open with a groan. He crept up the stairs, breath tight in his throat. From beyond the hallway he heard the murmur of voices. A woman, a man, Pati, and Tamad. A flash of lightning lit the room. In that instant he saw them together. The betrayal was not a guess. It was a fact. Sawî staggered, then stormed in like a demon loosed from hell. Pati didn't even scream. Tamad flinched. Sawî's eyes burned. He strode forward and spat on them both, once on her face, once on his. Then, with each hand, he grabbed their throats. "God!" Pati gasped. Sawî's teeth clenched, his mouth foamed with rage. "To you!" he shouted at Tamad. "Coward!" To Pati. "Traitor!" Pati said nothing. Tamad tried to pull away. He reached to run, but Sawî struck him hard across the face. "Son of Lucifer, you want to flee now. Ah, coward! Forgive me." "Forgive you? Forgive you after you have degraded my being? Forgive you after I have been cast into hell, after I have been tempted and have been deceived? No more. No more. No more, after my essence has been drained, after I have suffered, after I have been corrupted in the embrace of this woman." And he pointed at Pati, who was trembling with fear. "And you," he turned to her, "who have been the cause of all my suffered misfortunes. You, who have been the reason for my estrangement from my former friends. You, who have been the reason for my distance from father and mother, for their withdrawal of love for me. Where was your heart that you would repay me with such betrayal? A fine payment for my silver that you dissolved. A fine payment for my blood that you drank." Pati, trembling, answered, "Forgive me." "Do you know, Pati," Sawî continued, "do you know how much my love for you has cost me? Silver, much silver, gold, handfuls of gold, gold and silver, each piece representing a drop of sweat, a drop of blood from my virtuous parents. And my name," he added, almost choking on the spasms of words rushing forth, "my name that is now the target of all criticism, that is now a thicket despised by all lips, like the revulsion for a pusili, for a heap of stinking garbage. Where have you placed my humanity?" Pati did not answer. Sawî continued, "Ah, now I fully believe what the newspapers say, that in the fish ponds, dance halls, where you swim, nothing is seen but bait fish, fish that display only the glitter of scales on the outside, but are filled with mud inside. Sawî, forgive me, I am without sin. Without sin." And then it struck him, sharp and clear. "You're right," he whispered. "You didn't pull me in. I dove." Pati opened her mouth. She may have said something. But Sawî wasn't listening. He had already turned. Outside, the rain still fell in torrents. He walked into the storm, unblinking, unsheltered, soaking wet. Every drop stabbed his skin like needles. He didn't stop. He didn't turn. He walked into the blackness, into the wide night, into silence. The street swallowed him. Only the wind followed. End. From all of us here at the Elephant Island Chronicles, we hope you have enjoyed this novella by Rosauro Almario. Until next time, stay curious.